Well, folks, this is Guruji Online, and today I'm going to start a new chapter of NCRT Physics Part 1 for Class 11. And that chapter's name is Motion in a Straight Line. Basically, with this chapter, we are starting the mechanics portion. And mechanics is very important from the point of view of the CBSE or from the point of view of competitions also. And on this mechanics, your electricity, magnetism, all other things are also dependent on this. So if your concepts are clear in this subject, then nobody can beat you anywhere, either in the board or in the competitive exams. So we are going to start with motion in a straight line. Then we will study the motion in two dimensions and so on. It's a big topic, but part by part we will cover it. We will do the questions also, which are given as an example in the NCRT chapter. And then after completing the chapter of motion in a straight line, we will be solving all the problems of this chapter in a separate video. So NCRT theory part as well as numerical part and its solution, they are all will be available on this Guruji Online. So let us start with motion in a straight line. Now we will see what is motion in a straight line. Basically, before understanding basically what is motion, motion is nothing but any moving object, it is having motion, or it can be said in motion, like moving man, walking man. You have seen the planes flying, like that. So many things we see in our day-to-day life in the moving form, yeah, or in the form of motion. But what is the need of studying this motion? Now, while having the thing in motion, now whether how fast this motion is, how slow this motion is, so these kind of measurements were required, and this is how the velocity, speed, all these things came into picture for defining the properties of the motion. Now, it was also essential that any moving object with reference to some reference point, how far it is, or in how much time it has gone to that place, those things were also essential to study. And this is how this chapter has come up. So, motion is basically the position of an object with respect to time. Suppose you have this reference point here, O, and a body is moving like this. Suppose after time t1, this body is at point P, and then after time q, this body is after time t2, this body at q. So understanding the motion of the object or change in position, this is the change in position with respect to time. Basically, this is called motion. Now, motion in a straight line is also called rectilinear motion. This rectilinear motion can be described in terms of velocity, acceleration, the simple notations we are going to study in this chapter. Here, basically in this chapter, we are going to consider the point objects. Point objects means whose size is very small in comparison to the distance. Size of the object is very small in comparison to the distance. Correct? These things, please note down. These are assumptions we make for having our equations to work. Now another term is there, kinematics. Kinematics means it is also a study of motion. Here we study about the motion without studying about their causes, which means the cause which is responsible for having the object in motion. We don't study in kinematics. We basically confine ourselves to study of motions of the objects in kinematics. This is also called kinematics. Without going into its cause. Now let us see what is position. What do you mean by position? Actually, we define the motion. Motion is nothing but change of position with respect to time. Means when the object changes the position with respect to time, it is called motion. But what is this position? For defining the position, Basically we have to define some reference point. This is called reference point. Now, if the motion is one dimension, like if your car is moving like this on the straight road and it is moving forward or backward, that means it is moving in one dimension only, like this. This is one dimension axis. And if the motion is in two dimension, then of course this will be like this. Now here at any point we have different position x and y, means this position is called, this motion can be defined or its position can be defined with this type of coordinate system, delta x, delta y, like that. Suppose we have three dimension motion, then of course one more axis will come. This is called z axis, and all these three axes are mutually perpendicular. So this is how we define the axis system: x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. And this is x-axis, y-axis, this is basically, and z-axis. This is called frame of reference, and your reference point is, this is called origin. From here we define the position. Suppose your object position is this, then that means it is only one dimensional, because other dimension is zero. Suppose it is at the P, or it is at 2, then this coordinate will be defined as 2, 0, because y dimension is 0. This is one dimensional motion and your position is defined as this, or you can say it is 2 unit away from the origin. This, your position is 2 unit away from the origin. Unit can be anything, meter, centimeter, whatever it is, in what fashion you have drawn your axes, like that. And this whole system, now this whole system together with time, this is called your frame of reference. So in this frame of reference, you define the position of the objects. And how can you define the position of the object with respect to time? Suppose it is a one dimension, then motion, then this is your x-axis and this is your time axis. This is of course one dimension because only x-axis is there, and suppose at time t1, suppose the object is here. So this is the position, it is position of the object at time t1 on x. You can take from here, suppose it is 2 and this is t1. So at t1 object is at x is equal to 2. So this is how we define the position with respect to time. This is very important, and these are very basic things. Axis notations are very important. You must understand here itself. Now one more thing here I would like to say, choosing the frame of reference. Suppose you are choosing the frame of reference like this. This is your origin. Your suppose a moving car is there, it is going like this. Naturally, this is going from the away from the origin, and a person who is standing at origin will see that car is moving away from him. But suppose this frame of reference, if you consider this frame of reference on the person which is sitting in the car, then frame of reference is also moving with the velocity with which the car is moving. That way, that means the car will be at rest with respect to the person who is sitting in the car. So it depends what frame of reference you are choosing and with respect to what you are calculating the movement. So these are some of the things defining the position. In simple terms, any reference point you choose, you have to choose a reference point, and with respect to reference point, only you can define the position. Suppose your house, if you choose reference point as your house, then you can always say that you are so many kilometers or so many meters away from your house. So that is the basic thing. Now we will see what is path length. Suppose you have one dimension motion. This is the reference point. Here it is P. Here it is Q. This is 200 meter. This is 300 meter. Now a person goes from O to P. O to P. Then what is the path length? It is basically 0. So it will be nothing but O to P. It is moving forward. Actually, in one dimension motion, there are only two directions. That is forward direction and backward direction. But path length is basically a scalar quantity. That means it does not take into account the direction. So it will be 200 minus 0, that is 200 meter. Now, suppose I say it goes to P and then to Q. Then what will be the path length? Will be, sorry, it first is it goes to Q and then P. That means this comes to like this and then like this. This is the path it is traversing. Then what will be the path length? It will be 300. From 0 to 300 it will be 300. Then from 300 to 200 it will be 400. Correct? Now in this you see path length, actually it adds up. Whether it is backward or forward, whatever path you are moving, you just add up the distances and you will have the total path length. But this path length does not give you how far you are away from reference point. You are in this case you are away from reference point just about 200 meter only, because you went to P, you went to Q and then went to P, so you are away from 200. But with this figure you cannot make out how far exactly you are from the reference point. You may commit a mistake to assume that you are away from your reference point 400 meter, whereas actually you are only 200 meter. So to, to avoid these things, the concept of displacement was introduced. Displacement is basically a vector quantity What is vector, that we will see. Vector quantity is always have magnitude plus direction also. Correct? Whereas scalar quantity, they have only magnitude, no direction is taken into account. So in this, in the same question, this is O, this is P, and this is Q. This is 200, this is 300. Here, suppose it goes from here and comes back like this. There we calculated path length as O to Q to P, path length as 400 meter. But what about displacement? Displacement in this moment will be nothing but from OP. OP means 200, or you can say forward distance was 300 backward distance was 100, that means 200 meter. Or we can, from this graph, we can directly also see that from O to P, the distance is 200. So in one dimension, there are only two directions, that is forward and backward. Forward is taken as positive, backward is taken as negative. Correct? So this way also it is forward and backward we can take, or we can directly write 200 minus 0 is equal to, both the things are. So this is how, suppose any point, any object, if it goes like this, then it goes like this, then it goes like this, and then what would be the path length? Path length will be this plus this plus this. But what would be the displacement? Displacement will be the shortest distance from the reference point. This is the distance. This is the displacement. Correct? So this is the difference between path length and displacement. Path length is basically a scalar quantity. All the distances, whatever are being traversed, they are being added up. But whereas displacement is the shortest distance from the reference point to the end point. You can write it also, shortest distance origin to the end point. Correct? Suppose a person is moving half circle, then of course what will be the path length? Path length will be nothing but pi r. But what will be the displacement? This is the displacement dia of this. And suppose a person is moving like this and it comes back to the original point, then of course displacement will be 0, whereas path length will be your total circumference of this circle. So that is the difference. Okay. So far we have seen what is path length, and we have seen how to calculate path length. We have seen displacement also. Okay, now what is the average velocity? Suppose you have, this is your origin, this is x1 position, and this is x2 position. This is at time t1 and this is at time t2. So in xt graph. Xt graph, what is xt graph? This is the graph between time and position. This is the graph of a moving object. Suppose the same thing, it is time t1, this is at x1, and this is at time t2, it is x2. What it means? From the origin at t is equal to 0, the position is at reference point, that is at the origin. At t is equal to t1, it is x1 away from the origin, and at t is equal to t2, it is x2 distance away from the origin. So suppose if we join these two points with a straight line like this, so what will be this? This, suppose we write it as delta x. Delta x will be nothing but your x2 minus x1, and this is delta t, and this is delta t is nothing but your t2 minus t1. So velocity v is defined as x2 minus x1 divided by t2 minus t1, or we can simply write it as delta x upon delta t. So this velocity basically shows under in how much time the object has moved forward. Suppose this delta t is small and delta x is smaller, that means your velocity is increasing. Like this is a graph of increasing velocity, because here you see the distance covered in time, some equal time difference is less, but here is the slope of the graph is steep. That means in the similar time, the distance covered is more. So we can say that this is an increasing velocity, and suppose this velocity is uniform, then what will be the graph? This will be like this. It will be a straight line, because here slope is everywhere, it is the same, correct? So what is this delta x? This is the change in displacement. And what is this? Change in time. Velocity, average velocity is also a vector quantity. And suppose your change in displacement, it is positive, then of course the velocity is in the positive direction, or forward direction, you can say. and if delta x is negative, then it is in the backward direction. Like this is the graph in forward direction. Velocity is moving away from the origin. But suppose graph is like this, correct? Then naturally this shows that at time t0 it was away from the origin, some x meter away from the origin. Now as the time is increasing, this is coming down. Means after time, suppose t1, it is at the distance x dash, which is less. That means it is returning towards the origin like this. So this is these things you have to just keep in mind. This is a vector quantity and it has got both magnitude as well as direction, and the SI unit of this velocity is meter per second, because this is meter and this is in second. As far as SI unit is concerned, this is the displacement and this is the time. So this is giving you the average velocity between 2 points, correct? And this keeps on changing if you have this kind of graph, non-uniform motion. As you might have seen, when you start a car, then initially you accelerate it for some period. After that, same speed is maintained. Then after that, you decelerate and the car stops here. These are the point. This is the acceleration. This is the deceleration. And this is the uniform speed, uniform velocity, you can say. So what will be the graph here? If you make the graph here, it will increase up to this point. Then it will be a straight line with uniform slope, and then it will decrease and this will stop here. These are very important things. So this is the acceleration where the velocity is increasing. This is the velocity is uniform, and this portion is velocity is decreasing. Ultimately, it is stopping because it will be parallel to this time axis. Time is increasing, but x-axis is not increasing. This is x-axis, this is time. And if the body is at rest means it is not moving, then what will be the graph? If the body is, it will be just a a straight line parallel to your t-axis, because time is increasing but distance is not increasing. It is the same at time t is equal to 0 also, or t1, t2, or whatever time you take in between. Correct? So these are the some of the things you must remember. Average speed is nothing but basically it is a scalar quantity means only magnitude is there. And here average speed is defined as total distance or path length divided by total time. Here, irrespective of the direction, you just add up the distances and add up the time, you will get the average speed. Your average velocity may be equal to or always less than average speed, because total distance, this is the maximum distance you are taking into account, but here the displacement you are taking into account, the displacement depending on this sign, displacement can be equal to total distance or it will be less than total distance. Okay, this you have to keep in mind. Here average speed is also, your unit is meter per second.